Welcome to SorWil Solutions, where we talk about what's going on in our community. I'm Joe Wilson, CEO of SorWil Technology Solutions. I'm here with our communications professional, Ken Miller, our Director of Marketing, Kathryn Hancock, and our special guest today, Greg Bennett, KCTV5 morning meteorologist.
That's right. Yeah.
And Leavenworth resident.
That very true story. Yeah. Love it.
All right. I got it all right.
Good stuff.
Lots of
Good stuff.
practice.
Yeah.
Lots of practice.
When did you move to Leavenworth?
So, I actually came out of Florida. We were trying to figure out during that time frame to figure out where we were going to live. And to be quite honest, we were actually looking down south in around the Olathe area, and we saw some home prices around there. Around our kind of situation or range, and we couldn't go see the houses. We had to send somebody to just feed it out for us. So they would go and they say, all right, everything looks copacetic. Do you want to put it in an offer? I'm like, all right, let's do that. Let's go for it. They're like, great. Do you have an extra $150,000 more? Because that's what it was. Everything was going way above. So we're like, okay, all right, we need to backtrack. We need to kind of sort of figure things out. And Erica, my wife, she was the one who saw the house that we have up in Leavenworth here first. And I mean, from the outside, it was stunning. It's like this Gothic Italian, 1800 style home. And then when we saw the insides of it, we're like, oh man, it's nothing but character. And that's what we love. We love homes with character. So we didn't know much about the area at all. Like absolutely nothing. I mean, I didn't even realize that we've got the penitentiary, right up the road there too. But yeah, that's kind of sort of, we just fell into Leavenworth in our situation.
It's great to have you here. We met you last year for the first time at Denim and Diamonds.
Yep.
You were, and it was my first exposure really to you. I'd probably seen you on TV, but I was just amazed at how charismatic you were.
Oh,
and how you talked about the community and you jumped right in. How did you get involved with the chamber to even do that event?
Honestly, I've got to say thank you to Holly Pittman. To tell you the truth, we had a lovely neighborhood, and as soon as we moved in, our neighbors were out there, hanging out with us and wanting to get to know us, and we had a little get together. And at that point, Holly and her husband Jeff showed up one of these little get-togethers, and we just started talking. And she said, "You know what? I'm gonna have you just like all over the place. You just wait. You just wait." And she set me up with rapid response charities first. And then it was just a domino effect from there. And that's how I just really got involved with the community out here. And it's been so awesome. Like, I cannot believe how much love there is for this community. And it's not just for Leavenworth. I mean, for Lansing, for the county itself. I mean, people who really care about this community and are trying to put their best foot forward and a big difference into the city. And it's happening. That's what's wild too. I've been here for 3 years and there's progress. There's true progress. It's wild.
I think it's awesome to see somebody, an outsider, you've been here for 3 years, to really appreciate this community. Because I think sometimes those of us who've lived here for some time fail to reach that level of appreciation. Because we do have a really great community. And one of the things that I learned during my campaign, and I appreciate you voting for me.
Did he have a yard sign?
No, he actually didn't live in my district, but we were
That's right.
we had an event, and he said, "Yeah, I voted for you."
Absolutely.
I'm like, you don't live in my district. He's like, oh, yeah. But I learned about how many wonderful things we do really have in this community and how caring it is. Did anybody ever say you live where?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. When obviously the station KCTV5 is down around the Shawnee Mission Parkway area. So when I mentioned when I first got there that I'm up here in Leavenworth, they're like, ooh, okay. So how close are you to prison? I'm like, well, what do you mean? What's the matter? And there's been a history in Leavenworth, right? Some of it not so great, and obviously making strides to be more positive. And I gotta say that when it came down to when I first got here 3 years ago, they thought it was the old way, right? There was a lot of crime going on, bigger like drug issues that were happening, in the city of Leavenworth. And when we got here, that most definitely was not the case at all. And it almost opened up more thoughts, even down south to the station, to do more stories up here because they weren't in touch with what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
So your commute is probably what, 20, 25 minutes to the station?
40 minutes, actually.
40
Yeah,
minutes.
it's a 40-minute drive. And
But
that's
you're going in at like 2 a.m.
that's right.
Even
There's
40?
nobody on the road. It's still 40-minute drive. Yeah. But
Well,
I don't mind it.
Talk about your morning routine. And we see you on TV.
Yeah.
But you're not getting there 5 minutes before you go on.
Yeah, negative
So
12
talk about your morning routine and weather forecast models and maps and makeup and all that stuff.
So the funny thing is, and you'd think I'd actually put on a whole lot of makeup nowadays, but I haven't put on makeup in 10 years.
Wow.
I haven't. Yeah, this gorgeous Italian complexion is really helping me out. But no, I mean, I have to go to bed obviously very, very early. I tend to go to bed anywhere between 4:30 and 6 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And kind of tough on on the wife right now with a little baby toddler, right now. But we're working with that. But I have to wake up at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Takes me about a half hour, 40 minutes to just get myself dressed, brush my teeth, get everything ready to go. And then I'm on my way over to the station. So I'm usually in the office by 2 a.m. And I hit the ground running at 2 o'clock in the morning. So the first thing is model data, right? So I'm looking at everything that has come down the line, starting at actually 2 a.m. That's the first new update to everything. That's satellite imagery. That's going to be raw data that comes from drops nodes that they actually still do weather balloons. But we're also getting sensor data from satellites too that they kind of shoot down to the atmosphere. Obviously, they measure everything. Anyway, that raw data all comes in at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I look at that, and then we also start ingesting some of that information into model outputs, which is kind of those maps that you see that move with the green or blues or whatever on the maps. That's all real data that we put in that raw data, and it produces kind of a forecast or a prediction for us. And I look at easily a dozen. There should be about 12 every single morning. 3 of them being short models, which means about 24 hours to 36 hours out. And then the rest of them are long range models that go all the way up to about 7 to 8 days. And then from there, to tell you the truth, guys, it's still an educated guess. It's all guesswork still. That's why it's called forecasting and not facting, So we put all that together. I drop down numbers for Monday through Friday. And after that, I have a big meeting with the entire news group, with all of our producers, all of our anchors, all of our reporters, letting them know what's going down, what are the big stories of the day for weather. And then after that, I am running over to do radio segments. I do radio segments to some of our affiliates that we have. I think we have like 3 or 4 stations that use us. And then after that, I'm writing up weather synopsis to the station for the day side. I also have to update for the website. And then I'm finally able to get ready to start building the graphics that you see on air. None of that is done. All of that is custom built every single morning by the meteorologist. And I have to have that all done by 4:30 in the morning because that's when we go live. So there's a lot. It's a really heavy lift in the first part of the day. Once we get past the morning newscast, everything slows down, or at least my shift, but it's so top heavy. And that's where kind of the stress and anxiety is of the day. And then you top onto a severe weather day or a severe weather morning. Then it's like, okay, good luck.
We're recording this on February 11th, and I know this isn't going to air for a little bit, but tomorrow a projected winter storm, as you guys have been calling for.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, all hands on deck? What is your day going to look like tomorrow if we get 6 to 8 to 10 inches of snow?
So we got like this campaign that's going on at KCTV5 that we introduced a while ago called First Warn. Right, that's kind of our thing, right? So we have first warns, we have first warn weather days. First warns are those inconvenience patterns. We want to let you know about it, just a heads up. It might be a day that you're going to need the galoshes, or if your kids have soccer practice, they probably won't have soccer practice. But is it going to really stop you from doing what you need to do? No. Then we have the big deal days, and those are your first warn weather days. The whole station goes code red. I mean, even everything, our lower thirds, those little banners that you see, everything turns red, right? That's just to give you that, hey, heads up, this is a big deal situation. And we actually introduced this. We try to introduce this 3 to 5 days out to get in the mindset of we're going to be changing, shifts, how many hours that you're going to be working, how long we're going to be on air to cover certain situations, and then what to expect if you got to be out in the field. We want to make sure that everybody knows as much information as possible before we put them in a situation that can potentially be dangerous.
So how long is your normal shift, and then how long is your shift on days like that?
So my typical shift on a daily basis is 9.5 to 10 hours.
Okay.
Tomorrow will be a 14-hour day.
Okay.
Yeah, will most definitely be a 14-hour day. We usually have a 2.5-hour morning newscast traditionally. This will be about 5 to 6 hours. We are going to run clear into 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So there's you, the morning meteorologist.
Correct.
Then there's the chief meteorologist.
Yes.
Who is
Luke Doris.
Luke Doris.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's Savannah.
Yep, Savannah Tennyson. She's our weekend morning meteorologist. And then she also assists me Wednesday through Friday.
Okay.
Yes.
So how many other meteorologists do you have?
There are actually 2 others. We've got a huge staff.
That's what it seems
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, there's 5 meteorologists that we have on our staff. So the other 2 that we haven't mentioned is Warren Sears. Warren Sears is our weekend evening meteorologist, but he also assists the chief meteorologist during a portion of the work week. And then we have our mid-afternoon meteorologist, Melissa Meter. She basically comes in around 10 a.m. and she's done by about 5:30. And again, she's up there with our chief meteorologist to assist at the 5 p.m. newscast. I believe we have a 4 p.m. newscast as well. And if I'm not mistaken, for tomorrow, for example, we have a special show that we introduced several months back called it's called the Weather Show at 6:30 at night. She will also be on that show as well as we cover what was going to have happened with this winter weather system.
As somebody who's followed Kansas City media, television media, I've seen weather staffs as small as 3.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've got, I think you named 6 people, that must be great for tornado chasing as well. I mean, because you're not worried about somebody's got to be back and they've got to do the mornings and we got to get them some time off. You've got enough people to send people out in the field and cover that.
Bingo. I mean, it really is, and it's something that not many stations can do, especially nowadays. I mean, we just had a big company, Allen Media, that I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but Allen Media owns the Weather Channel, and they also own small markets across the station, about 30 to 40 different television stations, and it's gotten to the point that we have gone into 2025, and for broadcast media, whether it's news, television, or not, 2025 is a very what we call a dry year. There's not a lot of political ads. Not a lot of people want to spend money when there's not something exciting that's going on for a particular year. Unless you've paid to have the Super Bowl on your channel, you may not see a lot of revenue come in. And it's still that's the beast that we're in broadcast television, even for news. It's still all about the dollar, and the dollar's with ratings. Ratings come from people watching television. And when you have more people watching your news station, you have more businesses that want to provide money to have ads on your television station. And what has happened is that we have seen a massive cut in staff, and specifically to Allen Media, it has been meteorologists. We've seen over 300 staff of meteorologists get the axe just from that alone. And what we're doing and what we're seeing nowadays is something that's called hubbing, where you have a staff of maybe 5 meteorologists.
Happening in Oklahoma.
See, exactly. Right. And what happens is that you have news stations, sure, in all these different areas of the country, but you're not going to staff them in those locations. You're just going to use one staff from who knows where they're at. And they're going to put on a show as if they are there locally and give you a local forecast. That seems to be the situation that we're in right now for news broadcasting, as we're all trying to find a way to actually transition to more of a digital world, which is where we're seeing TikTok, right? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. All of those are starting to become extreme high dollar revenue spots. But news broadcasts still struggled nowadays to figure out how to truly monetize that by still keeping the brick and mortar.
Now, you said you came from Florida.
Yeah.
You left the station there?
Yes, I did.
And you chose to come to Kansas? Did you have a bunch of offers?
I did. I already had an offer for CNN. I had an offer for CNN, and they were just slow to bring the paperwork. And I was just sitting on the couch waiting for me to sign those documents. And my agent actually called me up and said, "Hey, Greg, there's a station out there out in the Midwest. It's a great place to raise a family. Great station, great market. Television markets go from 226, which is the bottom of the barrel, all the way to market 1, which is New York City. Kansas City is like 33, 31. Wow. It's a high market. It's a very, very comfortable market for broadcast television. And they said, well, the station is really interested in you. Why don't you just go? Why don't you just go and talk to them? I'm like, well, all right, we haven't signed the papers. Sure, go there. And I flew in, and it was a whirlwind of just love. That's what was weird. You guys, when they say Midwest nice, I thought, okay, yeah, sure. No, it's freaky. You guys are so nice. It is completely different from the East Coast, for sure. It is a wild thing. And before I even made it back to Florida, they offered me more than CNN was offering to come here. So I was like, well, it's no brainer. Plus, it's local. It's cool to work for network, and I worked for the Weather Channel, and that was really exciting. But you are a drop in a very big bucket, whereas you get to truly be part of a community when you're working for local news. So
you said you have an agent?
Yes.
So is this like show business? I mean, is that the kind of agent you have?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. So I have a boutique agency, meaning that they don't have a whole lot of clients. And you got to remember, there's when it comes down to news anchors, reporters, sports anchors, sportscasters, and then meteorologists, there's hundreds of thousands of us, right? And obviously, a lot of those people have agents. So my agency has about 125 people, and there are 3 agents. One is for radio, one is for network, one is for local television. And I work with the local television and the network agents. Most of their clients work at the Weather Channel, and they're on the high dollar side. So they don't like messing around with anybody who's got 2 or 3 years of experience. They want somebody who's got accreditations and has got awards and has been in the business for quite some time. So
now, did you always know you were going to do this? Did you go to college for this?
So I did go to college for this.
Okay.
But I was not expecting to do this at all. When I was in grade school, I was dead set on being a sitcom actor.
I totally see that.
Dead set.
Completely.
That was my goal. And even in high school, I had an agent for commercials and stuff. And I did local political ads, stuff in Orlando area. And I loved that. I loved being on stage as well. And I went to college. I went to Florida State University, and I went and I got accepted into their acting program. And they take 12 people out of the country every year in the acting. And for their musical theater, they take 8 people out of the entire country. So it was a big deal when you got in. But I got in there, and no joke, I'm 3 weeks in. I'm going to live in a cardboard box for the rest of my freaking life. I am so screwed. And I'm just looking at the other actors that are in the room, and I'm going, I've got to compete with you guys, let alone anybody who's from New York University or from Juilliard or forget it. Are you kidding me? So here I am. I'm in the middle of Florida State going, okay, all right. Plan B. I'm at a university. This is good. There are so many different outlets. What are we gonna do? And I literally went back and tapped back into my past when I was in elementary school and doing the morning announcements. And I just loved, doing the morning announcements. That was really it. And I loved the movie Twister. I mean, that was big in the
even
early
though
90s.
meteorologically speaking, it's total BS.
Right? That movie's trash. Right. But man, I tell you what, any meteorologist now, you could go to Jim Cantori today and he'll be like, gosh, what a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that really was just the motivation for our generation as meteorologists was truly Twister, the original. No joke.
Yeah.
You could tell anybody who's in their 30s and even early 40s, what motivated you to want to be a meteorologist. And it was either I was a part of a thunderstorm or I watched the movie Twister. I mean, that was really it. But I didn't realize that there was a program. And because I'm at the university, they automatically allow you to take whatever major you want. There's no criteria to it, but you just got to keep up with it. And I was way behind in mathematics. And I did every single summer vacation, every winter vacation, and spring vacation was nothing but trying to make up classes to get back on track for meteorology. Come to find out, it's the third best university in the entire country for weather.
Wow.
Number 2 is Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And number 1 is Penn State.
I didn't know that about Penn State. I knew Oklahoma, but I didn't know that.
And Oklahoma and Penn State are constantly battling it out for number 1 and number 2. But traditionally, it's been that Oklahoma's always kind of held on to number 2. And again, I mean, their program's incredible with their storm chasing and their tornado programs. With Florida State, we have tornadoes. Sure, our thing are the tropics. We're huge into hurricane hunters and flying planes into that kind of stuff and having those kind of products. So my background truly is in tropical meteorology.
You came to the right place. I mean, all the oceans around
Yeah,
here.
I know, right? But the severe weather, I mean, man, this is wild. You could set your clock to the thunderstorm activity in Central Florida, just because you've got a sea breeze from the Gulf of Mexico and you have it from the Atlantic. You got all the heat in the world.
Gulf of America.
Oh, my apologies. That's right. That's right. It is. It's now the Gulf of America. Oh man, that's something that we got to try to figure out because that's been so ingrained in our brains. But yeah. So it's you could set your watch to it. Out here, it is so wildly random. And that's what's exciting about being a meteorologist out here is that you are really challenging yourself on a daily basis, especially as we move on into spring and early summer with our severe weather season. It's wild.
So you work at KCTV5. Tell us something about people that you work with that would surprise people out there. We see these people and we get a little bit of taste of what they're like, in their personal lives, whatever they decide to share. But tell us something about a couple of them that people would go like, what? I didn't know that. And I know you got to be careful. But.
I know. And it's hard. I'm trying to I really got to think about that because I don't really think about that when we're just kind of sort of hanging out and doing our thing. There's a lot more cursing.
No,
there's a lot more cursing.
Any hot mic moments?
No, which is wild.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never caught ourselves on air. But man, when we go to commercial break, we're hot and heavy sailors. I mean, that's absolutely a thing. We're all human. We're all trying to have a good time. But we do have a good time. We crack jokes. There are jokes that are definitely not appropriate for television. But that's sometimes when we have those hard news kind of situations. You gotta break that because it can eat you up if you really.
One of my favorites is Carolyn Long, and I know she's retiring soon, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, and I know you don't work at the same day part as she does, but I'm sure you run across her and gotten to know her a little bit. She seems like the nicest person in the world.
She truly is, and her husband is like the exact same way. I mean, those two are just absolutely pleasant people, just in general. And the funny thing is that she's looking to retire, obviously, and they've got a place on the west coast of Florida, and they're looking to actually move down there and maybe call that a permanency. So they'll be about an hour and a half away from my parents.
Oh wow!
So that's kind of a fun thing. But yeah, she is so nice and truly, honestly loves Kansas City and the Missouri River Valley. Like that woman is absolutely in full dedication to this community.
She loves it so much.
She's leaving.
That's right. That's right. Listen. There's something to be said about negative 50-degree wind chills during the winter season, right? All right. She hasn't gone through a hurricane yet, so we'll see. Maybe she'll come back here and say, "Forget this nonsense."
What is the difference between an average meteorologist and a good meteorologist?
Okay. So that's a big one. That's a big one. There are definitely different like kind of levels of meteorology. And it really depends on what you're talking about here because, if we're talking about broadcast, right? Let's say we're just going to talk about broadcast meteorology. It is extremely difficult to find a meteorologist who can connect with every personality. And that is something that is extremely vital in this particular situation, that we're involved with it with our careers. We're all about people more so than even science. Obviously, we need to know that. That's our bread and butter. We need that background. That's a given. But I know of a lot of broadcast meteorologists who struggle to connect. And that's something that makes a great broadcast meteorologist.
Ratings is king.
I mean, it really is. It really is. And then, but even going live, right? You're going live into an area that you're not used to, right? And I mean this in the most honest and positive way I could think of. But there are times that you've got to go into areas that are not necessarily safe, right? And knowing how to connect with the people who live in those communities is vital to be able to not only tell a story, which is what you're there for, whether that's weather or news, but to have those people feel comfortable enough to want to talk to you and talk to you naturally. That's not something that's teachable. That is something that comes with just, you either have it or you don't. And that's either going to create someone who's great at what they do, or you're just going to be kind of the run and mill in the middle of the pack.
This probably applies more to news, but I could see where weather events would. But do you get to the point where you're going into a situation that could be dicey, where security is also provided for you, or is it always going to be on you and maybe your camera guy?
It's always on me and the camera guy. Mm-hmm. I even working at network, it's always been the camera guy and yourself, and they're relying on you heavily, to make sure that you're going to get the shot, or you're going to, you're going to be able to report, but you're going to try to do it as safe as you can. And there's always a line there because, again, ratings are king. And, the more of a dangerous situation, the better television it is, but you've got to balance in safety as well. So, a perfect example of that, right, is what several years back we had those storm chasers. Right. And, they were highly skilled meteorologists, but they pushed it and they got way too close and they got picked up and they lost their lives to it.
Oh, wow.
That was back, I think somewhere between 2013 and 2016, somewhere around there. And it was actually out here in the Midwest where they were doing that storm chasing. And I mean, that's it. Do you get the shot? And that means, punching the gun and getting yourself into a very dicey situation. You play it a little safe and maybe it's not the best footage. Personally, I'm more of the one who wants to stay on the side of caution. Even when I'm covering hurricanes and stuff like that, I'll put myself into more of a safe location, and I'd rather zoom in with a camera to something rather than being right in the middle of it.
You guys tout your weather chasing vehicles, but the bottom line is, unlike in Twister, you're not going to bolt into the ground.
Negative.
And the thing sweeps right over you. That thing's a glorified forerunner, right?
100%. Yeah, they all are. Yeah. They all. It doesn't matter what affiliate you have. I've been across this country from one end to the country to the other, and in every situation, the storm vehicle is just a jacked up Suburban or Ford or something like that. It's got 4-wheel drive, and it's got all of the stuff to obviously broadcast and be live in a certain situation. So it's heavy, but you get 100-mile-an-hour wind, 120-mile-an-hour wind in the wrong location. Yeah, it'll be tossed around like a domino. So,
with so much technology at hand, you're interpreting that data.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've seen how technology has changed the industry.
Yeah,
how has it? Obviously, it's made it easier. I'm sure.
Sure.
But can you talk about that? How it's changed a little bit? How it was when you first started to how it is now?
Yeah. So when I first started, in college, for example, they decided that it would be a wise choice to give us punch cards. So what we would have to do is mathematically predict what the weather's going to do with raw data using our equations. We would then have to go to a ticket and we would punch the ticket with the particular answers to the mathematical equations. And then you would drop it into a numerical computer and it would try to produce a forecast for you. If you produced and punched the wrong ticket, then it wouldn't produce anything and you go back to your equation. They did that to laugh at us because that was our professor's way of saying, this is how we did it. And then what I came into is the beginnings of Dragon and C++, where it was now, okay, now you're working strictly on a computer with raw data. Nowadays, everything is so automated. I mean, even the raw data that comes down, it gives us a choice to say, hey, would you just like to see the raw data? Or do you want us to just throw it into our model for you? And you
Have they incorporated AI into what you're doing?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Now, even that is brand spanking new to us, AI. And we're still trying to find out what is copacetic and what's like, hey, we're playing with fire and this could be a really bad idea in a certain situation. But for the most part, I mean, yeah, and they're actually teaching us now. We have classes on how to use AI, not just for weather, but also on the news broadcasting side. There are opportunities to use even AI to quickly produce a story to get that information out faster so we can get more stories, more content for you guys to see. So
that's amazing. Well, so now we're going to kind of switch gears.
Sure.
We're going to talk about what's on your mind. I'm going to tell us one topic that's not on the table.
Okay.
The Super
Kansas
Bowl.
City Chiefs.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
I'm still hurting. I'm not ready to talk about that yet.
Ridiculous.
But, Kathryn, what's on your mind?
Let's see. The Leavenworth Lansing Area Chamber of Commerce event is next Friday.
Ooh, next
Right.
week.
Harry Potter and the
Yeah,
Chamber of Commerce.
I'm going to MC the event.
I was
Are you
just
gonna
about
be
to
in
say
costume?
that.
So
I was just about to ask that.
one. I don't have one. I don't know if I should.
Still my question.
Should I get like a tattoo of like the, you know, the little lightning bolt, and we'll go with that. I don't know. I've talked to Jen about it, and I'm just, if she brings a cloak, this man will put it on.
Okay.
So yeah.
That was my question.
Will you be in costume?
I will be in a costume.
In a costume.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just dress up as a student and go in the House of Gryffindor.
Ah, Griffin. It's always Gryffindor. I just
husband-
wonder.
my husband's name is Griffin.
Oh, okay. Well, this makes sense. Okay.
The only reason I actually have never seen more
I've
than one
never met a
episode.
Hufflepuff. I've never met a Hufflepuff.
Oh,
Nobody.
this guy's House
Story.
Slytherin right
We'll
over here.
tell you a story about Hufflepuff later. Ken.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about the Chiefs. I'm sorry. I know it's off, but I want
Cut it.
you to know.
Cut it here.
I want you to know from the perspective of a Jets fan who has suffered for decades, really, that you guys need to realize, you Chiefs fans need to realize how lucky you are, you know. And I watched the game. I know it didn't turn out, and it was kind of shocking, to be honest. You were there, and you've been there, what, 5 out of the last 7, whatever it is.
Yeah,
right?
valid point.
You know, the Jets haven't made the playoffs since 2010. Now,
They suck.
I'm 15 years older than the last time the Jets. So I want you guys to know
Ooh,
that
that's perspective.
not all
I know.
teams have it as good as your Kansas City Chiefs and their fans. I'll leave it at that.
We're spoiled.
You are.
That's okay. We'll take it. So, what's been on my mind? Obviously, you got to meet my mother.
Yeah.
She has
She's
been
a sweetheart.
begging to meet you ever since I've said that I do know you.
Yep.
And so we met, like I said, we met at Denim and Diamonds.
Yep.
We met at a number of other fundraisers.
Yep.
Rapid response event. He was
And
shut
I
up.
Facebook messaged Greg one day, and I'm like, hey, I would like you to be on our podcast, but more than that, I'd like you to meet my mother, because all I ever hear about when she turns on KCTV5 is, oh, the cute guy on the TV5.
You guys look a lot alike.
I'm telling
Slightly
you,
older version.
easily be cousins.
Yeah.
Minimum.
I'm thinking brother.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
It's
But
the
the last
Italian.
time that we met, I was in a Superman costume.
That's right.
That's right. Yep. So I really do appreciate you putting yourself out there.
Thanks,
You're
man.
a super nice guy. You embraced us and our craziness.
Your on-air personality is just like your in-person.
Oh,
Oh, thanks,
That's
guys.
good.
Yeah.
I will also add that I was a drama major for 2 weeks when I went to KU.
Let's go.
And had the same realization that I wanted a family and not a cardboard box.
Yes. Yes.
And so I gave up on that.
Yeah.
Greg, what's on your mind?
You know, it'd be nice to get back and do a few show tunes. You know, I mean, that's
Wow.
that's.
I can't say.
Doesn't matter.
Can't say.
They can dub that in.
We could AI.
AI.
Oh,
right.
man.
Right.
You know, that's the crummy thing about the shift that I have, that, you know, we've got to wake up so early in the morning and have a Monday through Friday situation that it doesn't allow me to have the outlet to get back and to do some like stage acting and stuff like that. I hope one of these days that'll have an opportunity, or at least like a guest role over at Starlight. You know, Bill Hurlbrink was able to do that. He was part of Nonsense, and I'm like, man, you don't even know how to sashay. Like, come on, kickball change. Let's go. So yeah, you know, it's on my mind actually for the past. I do some really good singing in the shower, solid singing in the shower, and I actually on my Facebook page there was a time there that I was doing musical theater Thursdays, and I would do a little snippet of a song and have everybody guess on what it was going to be for the week, and then we'd give the answer the next week. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So I'm sure you did drama in high school.
Yes.
Favorite or best part you ever had?
Oh man, so it was actually a straight play. So just acting called Moon Over Buffalo. Comedy, loved it. My favorite musical was Into the Woods.
Okay.
Loved Stephen Sondheim. Yeah, love that. I was the baker in that one, and just a wild the way that, you know, he put the music together, and just so funny and witty at the same time. You know, it takes you through all the fairy tales and stuff, like the real fairy tales. And the baker's wife at some point, you know, meets one of the princes from one of the stories in the woods, and they have a little thing, and the wife goes, "Wow, that was great." And then, you know, the prince is like, "Yeah, this has just been another moment in the woods. I'm gonna go now. See you later." It's just so much fun, you know?
Yeah.
It's good times.
Good deal.
Well, that's SorWil Solutions. Our guest this week is Greg Bennett with KCTV5.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. Your kindness is overwhelming. And that's it. That's a wrap.